Hello everybody, welcome back to Open Table Adventures. As always, I am Dan the Baker, and I'm here back with Table Talks, our little interview series where we talk to some of my, and hopefully your favorite TTRPG content creators from all across the internet. Today I am here with VJ. VJ, how are you doing today? Thank you for being here.
Yeah, super excited you asked me to be here. And you know what? I am doing great. I just said I'm super excited to be here, but it bears repeating again. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. Why don't we start? You tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, hey everybody. My name is VJ Harris. My pronouns are they, them, he, him, and I guess if you are actually funny, something funny, one of my players joked that my other pronoun was DM, and so, give it a go. I am a professional tabletop I'm a professional TTRPG designer, mostly in 5e, but have branched out in some other places, like really working on branching out more this year. And I am a professional game master, where again, I mostly run 5e, but currently do have a little horror thing happening every other Friday. And if the gods are with me, if the universe is like, yes, I'm going to get to open up something for Orbital Blues, which is, bar none, my favorite fucking system.
Mm-hmm.
But...
No, you go ahead. Sorry.
I'm everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. There's nothing there. YouTube, Twitch, as VJ's Creation. So you can find me all over the place. And if I'm not annoying people on purpose because they're being little shits, I am trying to educate people in the space about bigotry and like how to remove it, so we can all have a great time here together. And that's me.
That is you. I couldn't have said it better myself. I would actually love to start off going off of that last point you said. You make a lot of content about anti-bigotry in the TTRPG space and activism in the TTRPG space. Have you always been a very activism-minded person?
Actually, funny that you asked that. A little bit of yes and no. The no around the situation, like. My parents, both my parents are Black, and very much always wanted me. Like, I was a voracious reader when I was younger. I'm getting back into it now because of audiobooks, but like I used to devour things, and they used to be like, "Hey, read this about like African American history, Black History Month. Read this, read that," and I'd like weasel out of doing it. I'd be like, nah. And then I got into college and I was like, man, what am I even doing? Like, what am I doing with that? And my half of my degree is creative writing with a focus in African American and queer studies. And it's when I got to college that I was like, man, I really should have read all that stuff my parents had me read when I was younger, because I'm reading it now and it would have been really useful. But so, and it wasn't until like a couple years into college that I actually started like volunteering with the reproductive justice org, and I went to work for them for a little bit. I worked for another like social activism org before settling into the TTRPG space. So yes, for like a big chunk of my adult life up until now, no, in the sense that while my parents tried to get me there when I was younger, I kind of rebelled against it until I was older.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to have parents that, encourage that type of thing in the first place. Coming from someone who has more conservative parents, also from the South, so, it's hard. Is that something in your, in the games that you run, is that something you bring up often, like political, like social political issues?
So it really depends on what my like players are interested in. So some of the things that are like just hard no's that don't happen in my games are like racism, transphobia, sexism, any things like that. Mm-hmm. Some of the things that are still on the table for us to explore if they want to, like the military industrial complex, which is actually like something that's happening in like a Tuesday game. We're running through we're playing in the Exandria setting for Critical Role, but it's completely canon divergent, and they're soldiers in the Aurora Watch, and like I'm having them deal with the political machinations of that, and like coming to terms with like, hey, maybe the military is bad. Maybe we need to restructure this. Like, we got to do better things. So that is being explored, but in other places, not inherently. Like when it comes to what I'm running, whether it's for like a professional game people are paying me for, or it's like just streamed or it's for friends. It really depends on what the people playing in it want to get into. I like educating people on it and talking about it. I also know there's not everybody wants to like deal with it and play with it all the time. And I'm like, yeah, that's fair. Hell, I don't even want to deal with it and play with it all the time either. So
yeah, totally. I think for me, things like fantasy racism and fantasy sexism is just so lazy. From like a creative writing aspect. Like if you're like, oh, why is this villain bad? They're racist. It's like, okay, and like great, like yeah, definitely. I think that kind of conversation, that consent between players and GM is important when it comes to adding in those political aspects. But how did you personally get started in TTRPGs?
Yeah, so first off, the first time I ever played was in like 2014. It was 2013 or 2014. So I mentioned previously I got a degree in creative writing with a focus in African American and queer studies. Here's the thing. The school that I went to, which was the University of Alabama, does not have an undergraduate creative writing program. So the only way to actually get that as an undergrad is to make it through the new college, which is just a college that lets us like kit bash like what our degree is, and we have to do a whole like presentation and like a little mini dissertation at the end of when we to graduate, right? And so one of the people in the new college was doing theirs around like tabletop games or something, and they're like, hey, who wants to help me real quick with this game? And I was around, so I was like, sure. And I'm pretty sure I was playing like a monkey in a barrel or something. Like I can barely remember what the experience was, but what I do remember is that I had so much fun with it. And so then in 2015, I started like going, me and my then roommate, we started going to Adventures League. We found a bunch of like-minded people. We left Adventures League and started playing together. And then as like I kept playing and I realized, oh my God, there's a vibrant TTRPG community. Like there's people online I can like, talk to about this. And I wanted to get in the space. Like I wasn't in a place where I was like, I can design for this, but I was like, I could review things. I can review stuff. I can always review stuff. I like had already had like at that time a lot of experience reviewing like stuff that people were sending in. I was the editor for our New College magazine, the New College Review, for like 3 or 4 years, and the graphic designer for like 1 year of the 5 years I was there. And so it was like, I can get in the space like this. I might not have the money to get everything I want, but I can be like, hey, can I review this and get a copy of it? And that's what happened. And then there was like a whole conversation about race and racism in D&D. And I was like, oh, I can help with this. My degree, what I'm getting in, it lets me be able to talk about this and whatnot. And then it just kind of took off from there. I like my literal, like while my entry into the like general design and creation space of things was like reviewing things. The thing that like I think kickstarted me designing was the discussions about race and racism in D&D. Even though at that point I designed one thing that like did all right. It sold 50 or so copies at this point. I'm very happy about that as my first product, but like the conversation about race and racism got me invited to work on An Elf and an Orc Had a Little Baby, which is kind of like one of the things that I'm known for.
Sorry, my heater is going off, so it might sound a little weird. That's super interesting. I feel like the review space in the TTRPG community is it's like a weird liminal space where there's no like there's a few set places to do it, but a lot of it's kind of lumped in with like traditional video games, like other types of things, like on like Polygon and things like that. Like they kind of do a little bit of everything. So I think that's a space that I think could use a lot more exploring. I was talking with a couple months ago at this point, but Rowan Zioli, who does all sorts of reviews.
Love Rowan.
Yeah, they're proselytizing that we need more reviewers in this space.
Listen, I 100% agree. Like I like thinking about it, I was like, man, I got to get back to my roots. Like I love designing, but I was like, I got to go back to what I started in the hobby as somebody who also reviews things, because Lord knows my friends like to call me a dragon because I hoard so much TTRPG shit that I have not read. And I was like, if I was committed to reviewing stuff, I would read everything. So I was like, that's the plan. That's the plan. But yeah, always need more reviewers on things.
Yeah. What are some of you talked about Orbital Blues a little bit. What are some of your favorite games you've gotten recently?
Okay, well, first, Orbital Blues is not a recent one, but I literally love this so much. And somebody asked me, like, one of my friends is planning on running it. They have, he hasn't run it before. Like, he's played in it with me a couple times, and asked me, like, what do you love about it? And I was like, the thing that the thing that I could say to explain it was, every time I think about running the game, I get excited about it, versus every time I think about running D&D, so for example, like I said, I'm trying to open up a Thursday afternoon game, like two for like kind of an anthology game, because there's a bunch of Orbital Blues like adventures that has been published by Soul Muppet Publishing, and I was like, yeah, I have all of you. We're gonna go through that. There's one in there that I made, and like not an officially published one, just an adventure that I've run for people before, that I'm gonna like put them through as well. And I just, every time I think about it, I get excited about it, versus when I'm like starting to run like another D&D game, it's like I will get excited about this later. There's not that initial like, oh man, I can't wait to do it. It's like I'll be excited about this in a little bit. Right now, it's like, okay, it's D&D. All right, okay. So like,
old hat.
Yeah, like it's affectionately the unofficial Cowboy Bebop TTRPG, which I haven't watched that yet. I started the first episode. I'm in love, but like people have told me that, so like very excited. It just scratches this itch that I can't describe, but some other things that I really like. So first off, I love solo RPGs so much. They're so much fun, especially the ones that allow multiple people. Like it's like starts off as a solo, but you can play with other people. I'm like, I love it. I think it's an excellent design principle. Some other ones that I like. There was, oh man, what's it called? I think it's called Jesus. There's one that Kat Evans. No. I am combining two people's fucking names. Jesus fucking Christ.
There's so many people. It's okay.
So many people. Okay, Kat, who runs the solo but not alone, like 1, 2, and 3 bundles, which one of them is going on right now, but has this game. I think it's called Primal. I'm gonna find it and tell y'all exactly what it is in a little bit. I will come back to that. But
we'll put
specifically, it's such a fun game to play. Like you are going through. It is like a deck. You do have a deck of cards. You're kind of setting out a grid, and as you go, you flip it. It tells you what's on there. You're kind of hunting through you're in this kind of like way back when hunter-gatherer hunting these monsters and stuff. You're getting items from hunting the monsters, and if you wanted to, as you keep playing, you could say, it's kind of like the Monster Hunter solo RPG that Kat got information from that. And every time I play it, I have such a fucking blast about it. And like you can carry it on to other places. There's a frozen waste add-on to it as well, because I think that exists for Monster Hunter as well. And then like it's such a good time. I haven't played it in a hot minute, but it is a really fun time. I also damn it, I should have I'm gonna remember all these names later for y'all, but there is another one that talks about like building legendary weapons and whatnot. That was very fun. Yeah, that was very fun to play and work through.
What was it called? Isn't it just called is it called just like Artifact, or it's like something like that? Like I think it's just one word.
So there is one that is called Artifact, but that is not the one that I'm talking about. There's another one.
There's so many.
I think it might be Forge or something. I'm gonna remember it and we'll tell y'all about it. But it's such a fun time. Like you're a blacksmith making this weapon. And like you're supposed to be balancing it out, but I never really want to do that. I'm like, I want my weapon. It might be a little bit unbalanced, but it's got a story to it, and I have a blast with it all the time, like every single time. Is there anything else? Oh, I'm currently playing Outgunned with some friends, and so I'm loving that so much. It's like the action hero TTRPG. Like I'm playing a criminal, and my catch line is, "Would I lie to you?" It's such a fun time.
Love that.
So good.
I love solo RPGs. I've only very recently gotten into them. I got a 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, which I feel like that's like, you know, the one almost everyone knows. When you say solo RPG, you're like, oh, 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. Like that's, I got it for my boyfriend, but there was, you know, it's one of those where you get the physical copy, but you can also get the PDF version. So I gave him the physical version, and I was like, let me I'll do the PDF version and look through it, because I love the PDF version. It's so fun, because I feel like the hardest part about TTRPGs is scheduling multiple people. So with a solo RPG, you just got to worry about yourself, you know?
Exactly.
So yeah, stepping away from, I guess, the TTRPG world for a second, I'd love to know, outside of that, you've talked about, like, you know, you're passing creative writing and stuff like that. Do you do, outside of TTRPG stuff, do you still do creative writing?
Yes, but not in any like professional capacity. Well, okay, that's technically not true. In general, yes. Although like this isn't even technically outside of the TTRPG capacity, because it's me writing fiction about characters that I am playing games with. So like I'm not doing it for work. Yeah, but it's definitely tied to me playing TTRPGs. Like I was in a game over on the... Okay, so first, there's like three places, but two that aren't my own streaming that people typically find me, and it's Starlight Tales, and of course, Total Party Kiss. And for both of those things, I have two little guys that I'm absolutely in love with, and like write like fiction. I was gonna say fan fiction, but like it's canon because, you know, they're my guys about, and so that is very fun for me. I did get hired to write like fiction for something that's, you know, gonna be out in a little bit. I can't remember if I signed an NDA saying don't divulge exactly what it is, so I'm not gonna say more than that.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I did get hired to do some writing, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, get back to my roots. Very excited about it. But yeah, no, most of my writing at this point, even the like I am a big fan of when I write things that are for the TTRPG space. If I have the space, like if somebody if I'm writing for myself, it'll be in there. If somebody else is hiring me, if there's space for it, it'll be in there. It's just a little blurb, a little like short story in there to really ground you in the space. Like whenever I'm like there's an unnamed space project that I'm the project manager on right now for, like, we're doing some stuff to make Spelljammer a little bit better. It's coming along, but there's like the sections have like short stories like that were just like so fun for me to write, and so I'm very excited like to put that little bit of what I went to school for in there as well.
Cool. Yeah. Do you write, is it mostly kind of like that in the fantasy genre, or
Yeah, so even though like my degree is specifically like creative nonfiction, like when I graduated, the thing that I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life doing was like talking to various Black communities about like how we could you know, cut back on like spanking in our communities. Not saying that it's like an exclusive Black problem, that is, but like I was focusing on my community to deal with that issue that was happening. And like when I graduated with my degree, I had I've always been a big fan of Max Brooks's World War Z, the book, not that atrocious movie.
Yep.
And like the writing and interview style. So when I had to turn in like my 60-page dissertation to like get looked at and do my presentation, it was all interview style, but it was in it was an interview, but the style of its writing was like directly from how Max Brooks did like his style for that whole book. And so I do have some creative nonfiction in there, and I mean when I write like scripts for like my podcast episodes and it's just me, I do bring in like the creative nonfiction writing because it's more like doing a big old research paper than it is anything else at that point. But a lot of what I'm doing right now is fiction based.
Okay, cool. And you mentioned a little bit that you do some like horror games. Do you like horror as well?
I like horror games. I do. The hesitation is going to make it sound like I don't enjoy horror movies I do, but I don't. I like, there are some things that give me nightmares. Then I'm just like, But in general, I do like horror, which I like. I've always liked horror to some degree, but it's definitely expanded because an ex of mine, she loved horror movies, and we'd have like a 30 Days of October horror thing that we would do, and I still like go over sometimes to catch that when it's October and whatnot. But I like explicitly love horror games. Like, I don't get nightmares out of that, but I still get that whole like horrific feeling that a movie will give me.
Yeah, I feel like with horror games, it's a lot easier, I think, to kind of pull yourself out of it a little bit. Of like, oh, it's just like, this is a game. This is a thing I'm controlling.
Exactly.
So it's like, you know, I know kind of, you kind of know when the scares are going to happen. That's kind of my creative writing background is a lot in horror. It's funny. It's horror and poetry are my two specialties. So it's, you know, very diverse. But I'm a huge horror movie junkie. So anytime I get to talk to anyone about horror movies, it's, you know, lovely time. Do you have do you have a favorite horror movie or horror game that you like?
Horror movie, I'm gonna have to say It, because it did start my fear of clowns, which is mostly gone at this point, but it's, you know, I'm still like, hey, can we not have like clowns in horror games, please? Thank you.
The
or,
new
like,
one or the old one?
I like them both. I like them both. I could, if someone was like, pick your favorite out of these two or you die, I don't know if I'd be able to, because I like them both in different ways, but equally. But I mean, the first one does have a special place in my heart because it's the first one I saw. But I do love It. It is a very, it's something. It's certainly something. As far as horror games, so I haven't played a lot of horror games, unfortunately. Like right now I'm running Symbaroum, which is like a, you know, has the 5e like version of it, but I'm running it in its own, like, I'm not running 5e Symbaroum, I'm running its own system, which is a roll under system, which is very fun. And I have played the Alien RPG. So if I had to pick between the two of them, I'd say Alien is my favorite. I am going to be running Mothership for Black History Month over on the Apochromatic channel, and I'm very excited about, because I've heard great things about it, and I'm so excited to play it. So that this answer might change to Mothership. Like, I can see it changing soon, but right now it's Alien. I was this close to picking up the Alien RPG when I was at PAX Unplugged back in December. I was like this close, but I decided to get I got Girl by Moonlight instead, which is, you know, completely different side of the, which is also an amazing game. But, and I mean, you have seen me doing horror GMing from our Halloween special. Oh wait, actually, yeah, that's right. God damn it, I played Call of Cthulhu. God damn it. Yeah. Actually, I take it back. It's a tie between Alien and Call of Cthulhu. God, this brain. Yeah. I do really like a roll under system.
It is.
Call of Cthulhu is really fun.
I think, yeah, compared to the D20 system, especially the roll under system, I think is there's so much more range for error. Which, like, from a game design aspect is so fun. And I think in games like Call of Cthulhu, the failure aspect is so, like, oh, you fail, you can just go insane, you know? Like, the stakes are so much bigger, which I think that really, that makes a horror game, I think, is having those stakes and have them, like, kind of mean something.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when it comes to, like, game design, what are some things that you haven't really gotten into that you want to in the future?
Yeah, actually, I really want to dig into, like, designing OSR games, so Old School Renaissance, for anybody that's unfamiliar with the acronym. There's this person I follow on YouTube, the Questing Beast, who, like, reviews a lot of stuff, and I'm always like, God, first off, I wish more OSR people would put their stuff on, like, Drive-Thru-RPG, because I know I'm spending money when I spend the money that I am making from things that people buy from OBS, either website, but, like, it feels like I'm not spending money when it's spending that, and I'm like, I can justify Like right now, maybe I have like $300 over there that I can't take right now. In my mind, I'm like, oh, it's not in my bank account yet, so it's not real. I can justify blowing all 300 of that on OSR stuff. But if it's in my account, I'm like, I can't actually justify this. So, but yeah, I really want to. I like. Any issues with the community aside, which, you know, every community has its problems and stuff. I see and hear like some really good design philosophy and like people with really great design chops over there. And I'm like very excited to like dig in and start, expanding what I can do as a creator. Like I already started, like I have a solo RPG that I made that is like, I guess you could say it's in its beta phase. It's out in the world. You can get it, obviously, but it's still like getting revamped and redone and all this other stuff. And I'm just very much like, God, I want to do more things outside of like the standard 5e space of things.
I feel like that's totally valid. It is so, like, you know, 5e and D&D is so like big in the space that it almost has its own gravity to it, that like kind of everything gets drawn into it a little bit. But I think in the last year, especially, you know, a lot of people have expanded into the, you know, the broader TTRPG space, which is, you know, amazing, and has given a lot of chance to more creators to come and experiment and try new things.
Yeah, exactly. There was also like a trophy that looks so good, and I'm very excited to like check out and like maybe design something for that too, because just flipping through it, I was like, oh, this is so fucking cool. Like there were so many, like, don't get me wrong, the whole OGL situation, hot ass garbage, but I can't lie and say that it didn't spur me to go check out more things that I was slowly crawling towards, but like now it's very much like, oh fuck yeah, like it like full speed aheaded me into new things, and I'm so excited to like be exploring stuff like that. Yeah, with the, you know, because like before the whole OGL shitstorm, I had played other games, you know, outside of D&D, but D&D was kind of my main focus for content creation. And I think, you know, common with a lot of other people after that, and kind of after the community response, is just, you know, making the content for other games, I think, is what really exploded, which, you know, gave more chances to those creators. Exactly. Yeah. I think that's all the questions I have for you. Thank you so much. I think now is time for us to move on to the game portion of our interview. Today I have a game for you that I am calling TTRP-GSA. Where it's kind of a misnomer because it's more about it's D&D stuff, but I have here 6 things from D&D, and I'm going to, you know, list them off, and I'm going to have you let me know if they are queer or straight. Okay. You can elaborate, you know, what flavor of queer they are, if they're a straight ally, like what, you know, what have you. Any questions? I had, like, when you asked me to come on here, I was about to start, like, watching you do this, and I was like, actually, I'm not going to watch anything. I'm going to be surprised completely about whatever. So I was like, oh, what kind of game? Are you dropping, like, a little, like, 2-player thing for us to do in the middle of it to see how? Okay, all right, hit me with it. This is great. Cool.
First off, this is all stuff from D&D 5e, is the champion subclass for fighters.
That is gay. That is gay, specifically gay himbo energy. So yes.
Okay, I can totally see it. It's secondly, we have the spell Shatter.
Shatter.
One of my favorite spells.
It's a good spell. Unfortunately, like in my heart of hearts, I'm being pulled towards straight. Sorry to say that.
Totally see that. Do you have any? Is there any reasoning behind that, or is just like your first?
You know, it's just like when I took the deep breath and I let that out, and I let that really guide my core. It set straight. That's all I can. I couldn't give you a reason, but that's what my inner truth is saying to us here.
Number 3 is the actor feat.
Oh, that's gay as hell. Specifically, not a specific like identity within gay, but definitely whichever, like, for any queer person that is like into theater, like whoever falls into that, yeah, that's you.
I can totally see it. Yeah. Number 4 is the Chain Devil.
Ooh. Okay, so here's the thing. Obviously, like, anybody can like be into like chains as a kink and whatnot, but there is a very like historical tie between the queer and like kink community and whatnot. And so honestly, anything referring to chains, I'm gonna have to say is queer adjacent at the very least. Maybe not queer itself, but adjacent at minimum.
I totally get that. Number 5 is Vecna.
That is a straight man. That is a straight crusty man. So sorry.
No, I get it. I just ran Vecna as like the BBEG for a short campaign, and it's like totally.
Yeah. Straight crusty man who thinks his feelings matter more than everybody else.
And lastly, I have the Deck of Many Things.
Oh, that's gay as hell. That is so fruity. Like, you're telling me many choices? Queer as hell. Pansexual. I'm gonna.
Pansexual, like gender fluid.
Yeah,
like it's,
exactly. Honestly, all of it. Like, choices. Yeah, you're queer.
Yes. No. Totally agree. I agree with all of those. 100%. Thank you so much for playing.
Happy to play.
Up here at the end of our interviews, I love to give our guests all a chance to shine a spotlight on something happening in the TTRPG universe that they think other people should be excited about. VJ, what do you have to shine a spotlight on for us?
Okay, so first off, probably by the time this airs, actually, when is this airing? I actually don't know that.
Should be mid-February, I believe.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for... Okay, cool. While this is still airing, Solo But Not Alone for the bundle is going to be still going on. There are so many solo RPG games in there, or at least all of them are... You can at least play solo. Some of them are solo friend or multiplayer friendly as well. So that is... and it's, it goes to fundraising for, like, TTRPG, like, mental health spaces, for people to, like, have places to, like, sit down in. God, what is the specific... There's a specific con it's being used for, but I, the human guy VJ, am a mess. So get it. Lots of games. My own game, HuntRPG, which is where you play a vampire agent who hunts rogue vampires while you are trying to manage your own urges and not turn into the thing you're hunting. And then when you fail, because it's inevitable, the game flips and you are now the rogue vampire being hunted by probably your former friends and colleagues. It's a fun solo game that's in the beta testing, so enjoy it at this point. God, there is also... on a second. The other thing I wanted to mention is that Midnight Ceremonies Media is like doing this thing, title pending 30 Candles, where they're like running three different games, and I don't think it's not going to be out yet in February, but it is like going to be, the process of it and all that stuff is going to be coming out, and the system and stuff that they're going to be using sounds like it's going to be like a really fun like story thing, brought to you by the people that did like the Valkyrie cycle, which I'm slowly making my way through and kind of obsessed with. God, there are so many other things that are happening in the space, but those are my big two at this moment.
Totally. Thank you so much for shining a spotlight. All those links to all those things will be down in the description down below. And lastly, VJ, what do you have going on that we should all be excited for?
Yeah, actually, I have a lot of things that are probably going on and will be out in February at some point. Maybe not when this drops, but it'll be out eventually. First and foremost, like I said, I'm getting back to my roots as a reviewer, and to do so, I'm starting a series on YouTube called Cover to Cover, where I read every single page of every single thing that I own, which, in case you don't know, it is thousands of TTRPGs from various settings and systems and ages and editions, etc. And I come to you with like, hey, I read this was great, steal this for your game. If you're looking for like a specific mechanic, you can pop it into whatever game you're playing, but I suggest you play the game. As well as VJ Talks, the podcast will be back in a slightly different format, but it will be back. And I'm like getting back into like my academic writing side of things. I don't know if y'all know this, but there are so many like academic like studies and articles in like Google like Scholar or whatever about TTRPGs, and I've gotten my hands on so many of them, and I'm just about to be like, all right, y'all. And the thing that like I'm very, very excited about that is coming in the future this year, some point, don't know when. I like for the podcast is When We Were Outcasts. I am planning on interviewing a bunch of people that have been playing D&D and probably like TTRPGs in general, but definitely D&D for a long time. So specifically, like, you know how people are always like, there are a lot of people that are like, hey, we were oppressed because we were playing TTRPGs. However, we weren't bigots. Like, anybody was welcome. Now I know, and you know that like there was clearly bigotry in the space back then, but every time I try to like find a place where those like stories of that are archived or recorded for us to like go back and listen to the people, it doesn't exist. And you know what the saying is, if something doesn't exist, you know, be the change you want to see in the world. So I'm gonna start that like series up where I interview a bunch of people from both sides of that conversation, like, hey, I experienced like bigotry from this community and we were never bigoted, to really like have that in one place and really discuss like, hey, this is the reality of this.
Cool. All amazing, wonderful sounding things. Again, all of those, you know, we'll have linked down below. What are you kind of mentioned at the beginning, but what are all your ats across social medias?
So I am VJH Creations everywhere. It is either VJH Creations together or it's VJH_Creations, and that is on startplaying.games, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Blue Sky. Literally, if there's a like social media out there and you want to give VJH Creations and one of those two iterations a try, it's me.
Perfect. Everyone should definitely check out VJ. Always have good things to talk about all across the internet. Thank you so much for being here, VJ. I had such a good time talking with you. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope you had a good time listening to us yabber on like old people in the elderly home. I, as always, have been Dan the Baker. You can find me at Dan_the_Baker anywhere I want you to find me, and some places I probably don't. You can also always find me here at Open Table Adventures, along with all of our other wonderful content, some of our actual plays. You can see VJ in a couple of them, all of our other interviews, our recipes, and so much more. So make sure you stick around and subscribe, because you are always welcome to pull up a seat. Bye-bye.